Hi guys, it's Boingy and welcome back to my channel where we sit down together every Wednesday and talk about true crime cases from all over the world, but our main focus is South Africa. It's been a while since we've had a video on the channel, but I'm back now, so rest assured that every Wednesday there will be an upload. So if you're not subscribed, please do and turn on your post notifications so that you get notified each time I post a new upload a new video so that you don't miss out. Today we're going to be talking about the painful case of Merissa Naidoo, who was abducted from school back in 2005. I say that this case is painful because not only does it involve the murder of a child, but there is barely any information about this case on the internet, which just gives me the impression that people have forgotten about this case and people don't give this case as much attention as they have given to other cases, and I don't think that is fair to the victim and to the victim's family. So I am hoping that by talking about this case, more people will keep Marissa's spirit alive and the case will not just go forgotten. But before we get into the details of today's case, as always, I have to make my usual disclaimer that I mean absolutely no disrespect to anybody that I'm going to be talking about in this video, as well as all the families that were and are affected by this case. This video is purely for educational purposes and all the information was gotten off the internet and simply compiled into one video. I do humbly apologize to anybody that I might offend at any point during this video, because that is absolutely not my intention. And with that being said, let's just hop right into the case. So Merissa Naidoo was born to father Links Naidoo and mother Roshila Naidoo. She had a younger brother Dylan who absolutely adored her, and she adored just as much. They would play together all the time, and Merissa would always teach Dylan some stuff that she had learned at school during these playtimes. Their relationship was also defined by their father as a truly special one. So this case took place in Benoni, which is a town in Ekurhuleni in the eastern region of Johannesburg. It is also the setting for the MTV inspired movie called Crazy Monkey, straight out of Benoni, which was released in the year 2005, which also happens to be the year that this tragic case took place. So in 2005, Merissa attended Benoni Primary School, which is in Actonville, Benoni, and that's where the case would initially start off. The morning of the 15th of September 2005 started off as any other morning for the Naidoo family as they prepared for their day and also dropped their daughter off at her school in Actonville. No one could have imagined that this would be the last time that the family would see their daughter alive. At around 10:30 a.m. that morning, Marissa's name was called through the intercom and she was told to pack her bags because someone from her family had come to fetch her. The man who had come to fetch Merissa told the school that he was a relative of the family and that Marissa's dad had actually been arrested, and he had been instructed by the family to fetch Merissa from school. It was only when her father came to pick up his daughter at around 2 p.m. that they realized that something was wrong. Links was told that a Mr. K. Singh had already fetched his daughter, but something didn't sit well with him because he was told that this man claimed to be his relative. However, he didn't have any relative by that name. So as any parent would, Links instantly went into panic mode. So he asked for more details, more information, and that's when the deputy principal told him that they allowed Merissa to leave with this man because she seemed to know him. He didn't seem like he was a stranger to her. But this still didn't sit well with Links because they had given the school 4 different numbers to call in case of an emergency, but none of those numbers were called to ensure that this man was authorized to fetch Merissa. None of them. He later accused the school of handing Merissa to her killer, and I don't know if they ever went as far as, you know, suing the school, but I really hope they did. Even though that wouldn't obviously bring Merissa back, it still would have at least compensated the family somehow. I hope they were sued. So anyways, Links went back home with a broken heart, obviously, and he also reported his daughter missing to the police. At around 4 p.m. that day, he received a phone call from the kidnapper who demanded a ransom of 500,000 rand in exchange for his daughter's safe return. The kidnapper instructed him not to involve the police, and he also gave Links the details of the drop-off location. Links then asked to speak to Merissa, but the call was quickly cut off. The kidnapper then called again shortly afterwards and told Links to drop the money off on Friday, but Links wanted his daughter back home as soon as possible, so he told the kidnapper that he currently had the money on him and he wouldn't mind basically taking the money to the kidnapper that very same day. So that's when the kidnapper told him to drop the money off at 6 p.m. at Emperor's Palace in Kempton Park. The police arranged a task team of around 13 members and they staked out at the Emperor's Palace while Links waited with the ransom money on him. He waited and waited and waited, but the kidnapper didn't show, and so he went back home. He got another call later that day and the kidnapper told him to drop the money off the following day at around 10 a.m. And again, Links waited and waited, but the man didn't show up. During this time, Links suspected that the kidnapper could be a man who had approached him about a week earlier with a business proposal for him to invest in a property. This man's name was Raveen Ramprasad. He was a widower and he had a 20-year-old daughter. He had a history of a couple of run-ins with the law. He had been arrested for theft in 2001 and he also had some charges of trespassing laid against him by his ex-girlfriend. The ex-girlfriend also had a restraining order against him because he had some stalkerish tendencies and would show up at her house and refuse to leave, which obviously resulted in the charge of trespassing being laid against him. Their relationship started in February of 2003 when Raveen approached her asking for some help with finding a job. He had just left his previous job as a car salesman, and so she helped him with finding another job at another car dealership. The harassment started in June of 2005 when she tried to break up with him, and that's when he started showing up at her house unannounced, would refuse to leave, and she also had to change her numbers about 5 times because he just wouldn't stop harassing her. He rented a flat in Benoni's Radio City complex about 2 weeks before the kidnapping, and then he approached Marissa's dad with this business proposal about a week before the kidnapping. There were also some reports that he was unemployed and that he was probably trying to make a quick buck using Marissa's family. His neighbors also mentioned that he kept to himself most of the time and he had his curtains closed literally all the time. So during these business dealings with Links, he happened to be in the car with them when Links went to pick up his daughter from school one day, and he believes that this could have been the first time that Raveen met or saw Merissa, and that Merissa could have possibly left with him thinking that he was a friend of her dad's. Another thing that increased Links' suspicions was that sometime after Marissa's abduction, he called Raveen and told him about the kidnapping, and Raveen's response was, "I hope you're not suspicious of me," which you wouldn't expect somebody who has nothing to hide to say. His suspicions grew even stronger after the police released an identikit of the man who went to school to pick up Merissa. His friends were adamant that the man on the picture was Raveen, but he wasn't quite sure because the man on the picture looked a little bit different. Raveen had long black hair with some white streaks in it, and the man on the picture had short black hair. But because his friends were super adamant that this was Raveen, they kind of convinced him to believe that Raveen was the kidnapper. For 2 days, the family heard absolutely nothing from the kidnapper. While waiting, they erected a giant marquee in their garden for family and friends to come and pray in, just trying to stay hopeful that their daughter would return home safely. Their 5-year-old son Dylan kept asking where his sister was and when his sister would return, but the family just didn't know what to say to him. And after 3 days of silence, the Naidoo family's worst nightmare came true. They were told by the police that 10-year-old Merissa had been found dead with her body stuffed in a suitcase. Her face was wrapped in cling film and she had suffocated to death long before the police arrived. The police had reason to believe that Raveen was the kidnapper, and so on Sunday they raided his flat, and that's where they found the suitcase with Marissa's body in it. In an attempt to evade arrest, he jumped from the 3rd floor balcony of his building and he was badly injured and later succumbed to his injuries, leaving Marissa's family with more questions than answers. His family also had a lot of questions because they couldn't believe that this was Raveen. They couldn't believe that he did this because he was apparently a very loving guy who loved children and would never do anything to harm children, or so they thought. Although the person who kidnapped and killed Merissa died, the Naidoo family has reason to believe that Raveen didn't do this alone. They believe that he possibly could have had an accomplice because he was unemployed at the time. He had no car, but he somehow managed to transport Merissa from school to his flat in Benoni, which was about 7 kilometers from the school, and he managed to do all of this unnoticed. So they believe that he possibly had an accomplice that had a car, and that's how they managed to take Merissa to the flat in Benoni. They believe that the police failed to investigate the case any further and they have attempted to reopen the case. I'm assuming that their attempts failed because I did find a bunch of news reports regarding their attempts, but there was nothing regarding the success of those attempts. So I don't really know whether the attempts were successful or not. Like I said, there's not much information about this case on the internet, which is just absolutely heartbreaking and tragic, and I hope that we will do better as time goes. We will keep the spirits and the memories of the victims alive more than we currently are. Thank you for watching today's video. Please drop all your opinions, suggestions, constructive criticism in the comment section down below. If you found this video informative or enjoyable, then like the video, and also if you did enjoy this video, you'll probably enjoy this one as well. And also you could subscribe to my channel while you're at it because there's plenty more where this came from. Thank you once again for watching this video. I'll catch you guys in my next one. Bye.